Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right? Visualizing, meditating, repeating affirmations, and yet the thing you want still feels miles away, like you're speaking into a void, and nothing is answering back? It's not that the field is broken. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's that you're not here, not fully, not now, because presence isn't a concept. It's a frequency, and when you're chasing the future or haunted by the past, your signal scatters. Your essence gets diluted. You're no longer a tuning fork for your desire. You're an echo of your fear. The quantum field doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your coherence, your congruence, your embodied now, and most of us, we're not really here. We're floating in a haze of almosts and maybes, stuck in mental simulations of how things might unfold, waiting for proof before we believe, bracing for disappointment before we even begin. And in that state, your nervous system is not a transmitter. It's a firewall, blocking the very current you're asking to receive. You can't create from absence. You can only react. And reaction is not creation. It's repetition. It's running the same code and calling it fate. But when you drop back into your body, into your breath, into this sacred and unrepeatable now, something shifts, subtle but seismic. You start to feel again. You start to hear again. You start to cohere again. Because the field doesn't move when you force it. It moves when you match it, when you resonate. Imagine a singer trying to break a glass with their voice. If they scream randomly, nothing happens. But if they find the exact pitch, the exact frequency that matches the glass, resonance shatters resistance. That's what coherence does. That's what presence is. The exact frequency of your now, harmonizing with the possibility you hold. But here's the twist. Most of us are searching for presence from a place of panic. If I can just be more present, maybe it will come. That's still trying. That's still future. That's still lack. Presence can't be used. It has to be returned to, like a breath, like a lover, like a song you forgot you knew by heart. You can't grab it. You can only feel it. And here's where the paradox lands. You become magnetic the moment you stop reaching. You become a beacon when you stop broadcasting noise. You become a match when you stop manipulating the match, not by doing more, but by becoming less divided, less scattered, less almost, more whole, more now. This is the art of real manifestation, not calling things to you, but collapsing into the version of you that they already belong to. And that version, they're not waiting, they're not wondering, they're not analyzing the lag between desire and delivery. They are here, they are safe, they are tuned, and that tuning fork doesn't plead. It vibrates. This isn't about convincing yourself to believe harder. It's about removing the static that's dulling your signal, the stories, the self-doubt, the subtle contractions of, what if it doesn't work? All of that. Noise. All of that. Absence. You want to be answered by the field. First, be the one who's listening. Not with your ears, with your being. Let your cells pay attention. Let your breath sink to something deeper. Let your heartbeat become the drum that the quantum dances to. Because you don't manifest from your mind, you manifest from your state. And state is not a mood, it's a moment fully felt, a now fully occupied. And right now, the field is listening. But the question is, are you even here to hear it? There's a quiet kind of agony in waiting, not the still, sacred waiting of trust, but the tense, fidgeting kind, the kind that looks calm on the outside, but is buzzing underneath, checking your phone again, replaying the last conversation in your head, wondering if you did it right, if you aligned enough, if the universe is really listening this time. That kind of waiting is absence disguised as effort. It wears the mask of intention, but vibrates with lack. Because beneath it all, what you're really saying is, I'm not safe unless it happens. And that signal, that emotional undercurrent, is what the field hears, not your vision board, not your well-crafted affirmations. The field responds to the dominant vibration, not the polished projection. It listens to your nervous system more than your words. So if your body is bracing, if your breath is shallow, if your gut is tight, then you're not manifesting. You're defending, you're broadcasting static. Presence is what clears the channel. But here's the beautiful, painful truth. You can't fake it. You can't trick the quantum by pretending to be present while secretly gripping for control. Because the field doesn't match your mask. It matches your marrow. It responds to what you are, not what you hope to seem. And what you are is layered, complex, human, which means sometimes you're present, sometimes you're panicked, Sometimes you're embodied, sometimes you're escaping. That's okay. This is not about perfection. It's about return. Again and again and again. Every time you come back to this moment, fully, sincerely, you realign, you recohere. You re-enter the broadcast tower of your true signal. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to tune into a radio station, but your dial is just slightly off. You can hear bits of the song, but there's fuzz, distortion, static. That's what it's like when you're halfway here. When your mind is spinning loops and your body is holding tension, you're close, but the signal isn't clean. And because it's not clean, the field can't respond with clarity. Your desires get delayed, distorted, diluted. Not because they're denied, but because your frequency is unclear. Presence sharpens the dial, and not just presence as in being mindful, but full spectrum, embodied presence. The kind where your breath slows, your shoulders drop, your awareness moves out of your head and into your heart, your belly, your skin, where you stop chasing the next thing and actually inhabit this one. That's when the field starts to shimmer. That's when the feedback loop kicks in. Because now you're a coherent node in the web. You're not just asking, you're attuning. And when you attune, life begins to whisper back. A text arrives just when you stopped waiting for it. A stranger says the exact phrase you needed to hear. An idea drops in with the clarity of thunder. These are not coincidences. They are echoes of your alignment, reverberations of your coherence. But the mind will try to steal the moment. It'll say, "See, it's working. Now hold on to this energy, don't mess it up." And just like that, you're gone again, out of the moment, out of the body, back in the loop. This is the subtle sabotage, trying to manage magic, trying to control flow, and every time you do, you interrupt the dance. So the practice is this. Can you feel what you feel is without flinching? Can you want what you want without tightening? Can you be so rooted in now that you no longer grasp for next? Because the paradox of presence is this. It's the portal to everything you desire, and yet it asks you to stop chasing any of it. It asks you to choose this breath, this feeling, this heartbeat, without condition, without performance, without bargaining. You don't become magnetic by proving your worth. You become magnetic by remembering it, by resting in the truth that you're already the frequency of your future, when you're fully the frequency of your now. That's the irony. The less you try to escape the moment, the more the moment bends reality around you. Not with pressure, but with presence, not with force, but with frequency. I used to think manifestation was about getting what I wanted, about doing the right rituals, holding the right thoughts, crafting the right vision. But what I didn't realize, and what the field kept showing me in its silence, was that I wasn't in the equation. Not really. My mind was involved. My longing was loud, but my presence was absent. I was waiting for life to meet me, but I wasn't home when it knocked. You see, wanting from a distance creates a vibrational gap, and the field doesn't fill gaps. It responds to overlaps, to merging, to oneness. If you're waiting to feel something after it happens, the signal never stabilizes. It stays in a future tense, always just beyond your grasp. It's like trying to taste fruit you haven't planted, or hear music you won't stop interrupting. Embodiment changes everything. When you feel now what you believe only the future can give you, you collapse timelines. The field doesn't care about time, it cares about truth. Frequency is truth, emotion is truth. So if your now becomes a clear enough container, the energy of what you want has no choice but to flow in. Not because you tricked it, but because you matched it. But that match doesn't come from fantasy, it comes from feeling. And feeling is scary, because to be present enough to feel means you have to let go of control. You have to be willing to not know. You have to soften the grip you've had on how it's supposed to look, how long it should take, who should bring it. You have to trust the intelligence of the field. And that trust, it's not passive. It's not surrender in the way most people think of surrender. It's intimate participation. It's choosing to root your energy here, instead of leaking it into all your future what-ifs. Think of a tree. It doesn't stretch its roots across the forest, trying to find the perfect patch of soil. It roots deeply where it is, and from that deep presence, it grows, it flowers, it becomes magnetic to the sun, the wind, the rain. It doesn't manifest by effort, it manifests by being. That's coherence. When you're coherent, you don't chase. You draw, you don't push, you pulse, you don't force, you flow. And your flow becomes a message to the field. This is who I am. This is what I'm ready for. This is what already lives in me. And the field, always, mirrors that back. But when you're fragmented, when you're split between your thoughts, your fears, your stories, the message becomes scrambled, the frequency becomes distorted. And even if what you want is trying to reach you, it can't find a stable place to land. It's like trying to send a signal through static. The intention is pure, but the channel is noisy. So the invitation is simple, radical, revolutionary. Come back to this breath. Come back to your body. Not because it will make things happen faster, but because it's the only place where reality ever happens. The only place the field can feel you. Because that's the real secret of manifestation. It's not about sending out a perfect signal. It's about being findable. Presence makes you findable. Embodiment makes you real. And the moment you become real to yourself, not just conceptually, but vibrationally, the field starts reconfiguring everything around you. Not because you asked louder, but because you finally showed up. There's something deeply humbling about realizing you've been present in theory, but absent in frequency. Like going through the motions of trust while your heart still flinches, smiling through affirmations while your gut is tight with dread. And the field, it doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your essence, your undiluted signal, your unguarded now. When I truly saw this, not just intellectually but viscerally, I had to face a hard truth. I had been trying to impress life instead of meet it, trying to perform alignment instead of embody it, hoping the universe would reward my effort, without realizing that effort born from fear still vibrates fear, and fear fractures frequency, because fear says, I'm not safe yet. Fear says, I need this to change before I can soften. Fear keeps the nervous system in defense, and no coherent creation can land in a defended field. It bounces off, it delays, it gets twisted by the filters of doubt. So even if something does arrive, it never feels like enough. You're too braced to receive it. Too busy scanning for the next thing to trust what's already here. So how do we shift? How do we soften the grip without abandoning the desire? It begins with the body, because the body is not a delay in your manifestation. It is the delivery system. Your body is the radio tower through which the field transmits its answers. If your breath is shallow, your awareness scattered, your sensations numbed, then you're not fully online. You're not broadcasting your true frequency. You're sending mixed signals. I want it and I don't trust it. I'm ready and I'm still guarding. I believe and I'm bracing. And the field, it listens to the deeper note, the steady hum beneath the noise. That's what it mirrors. So to become magnetic, you don't add more effort. You remove what fragments you. You take the energy back from the future, from the looping thoughts, from the craving for proof. You gather it back into your skin, your cells, your breath. And in doing so, you become a signal worth responding to. Not because you're louder, but because you're clearer. Clarity isn't intensity, it's purity, simplicity, wholeness. And wholeness is found in the now. Have you ever noticed that when you stop chasing, things often show up? When you stop refreshing the screen, the message appears. When you finally exhale, the solution lands. That's not coincidence. That's coherence. That's what happens when your presence becomes more potent than your pursuit. Because the field isn't responding to your chase, it's responding to your current. And current only flows when there's connection, uninterrupted, grounded, felt. This is the paradox that unravels most people. You must deeply care and yet release all grip. You must hold the vision, but not from tension, from trust. You must want with your whole being and still root yourself in the possibility that this moment, even without the outcome, is already enough. That's what stabilizes your signal. That's what aligns your nervous system with safety. And safety is the frequency of receiving. When you're safe, the body opens, the breath deepens, the heart becomes a compass, not a courtroom. You stop judging your now and start partnering with it. And in that partnership, things shift. Not just internally, but externally. Because the field loves congruence. It loves when your outer and inner match. It loves when you say, I am, and your body believes you. That's not wishful thinking. That's vibrational science. That's the observer effect in action. When the observer becomes fully present, the quantum possibilities collapse into reality. And what you witness with clarity, you begin to embody. What you embody, the field cannot ignore. So stop waiting for the quantum to answer. Start listening for where you're not yet here. Because your next timeline isn't hiding. It's just waiting for the version of you who's fully arrived. I remember the exact moment it clicked, not in my head, but in my bones. I was sitting in silence. No music, no ritual, just breath. and I noticed how many places inside me were still reaching, tiny threads of energy pulling toward some future relief, an outcome, a sign, a breakthrough. And in that noticing, something softened. I let the threads dissolve, I let myself drop, and suddenly the moment got louder. The air felt fuller, my heart beat steadier, and it wasn't because something changed out there, it was because I had finally come home in here. That's the moment the field starts whispering. Not when you finally figure it out, not when you perfect your process, but when you stop leaving, stop projecting, stop outsourcing your wholeness to a timeline that hasn't arrived. Presence is not the absence of desire. It's the purification of it. It's when the wanting becomes so integrated, so embodied, that you no longer feel the separation. It's no longer out there. It becomes a felt sense, a resonance inside your being, a knowing that moves quieter than thought, more constant than hope, more still than certainty. It's peace, but not passive. It's aliveness without chase. And from that place, you stop manipulating the quantum. You stop needing to push the buttons and calculate the odds and decode the signs, because you're no longer trying to control the outcome. You're becoming the outcome. That's the shift no one teaches, because it can't be taught. It must be lived, not from the neck up, but from the ground of your being. And embodiment doesn't mean perfection. It means inclusion. It means you let your fear be part of the now. Instead of resisting it, you let your doubt speak without giving it the microphone. You let your nervous system be seen, soothed, re-regulated. And in doing so, you change your vibration, not by force, but by honesty. There is no coherence without compassion. There is no magnetic field around a body in judgment. So if you want the quantum to respond, stop asking it to skip the part of you that's hurting. Include that part. Hold it. Let it settle. Because coherence doesn't come from control. It comes from inner congruence. When all parts of you are allowed to be present, even the ones that still ache, still long, still question, you create an energetic field of safety. And in safety, manifestation speeds up, because nothing fragments the signal. You don't need to be flawless, you need to be whole. And wholeness is born in the now, in the moment you stop outsourcing your power to an imagined future and claim it fully here, even if the external hasn't caught up yet, even if the evidence hasn't shown, especially then, because that's when the field tests your coherence. Can you trust the resonance of your being more than the absence of the result? Can you let your now be enough of a signal? Because when you can, when your presence becomes the proof starts showing up everywhere. Not to reward you, but to reflect you, to echo what you've already become. That's the moment the call and the response collapse into one. The receiver and the signal merge. The seeker and the found dissolve. And what was once a distant vision becomes the natural unfolding of your now. Not because you chased it, because you stopped leaving the moment where it already existed. We're conditioned to believe that reality is something we wait for, something external that eventually aligns with our efforts, our plans, our striving. But the quantum doesn't work like that. It doesn't wait for your checklist. It waits for your arrival. And most of the time, the reason it feels like reality isn't meeting you is because you haven't truly entered the room of your life. You're standing in the doorway of tomorrow, glancing back at yesterday and wondering why today feels hollow. But the field only responds to what's inhabited, not imagined, not rehearsed, felt, fully, sensually, without condition. That's what presence really is. It's not an idea, it's a voltage. And when you're not in it, your signal weakens, your frequency fractures. You might still be doing all the things, but the current isn't running through you. You're like a lamp that's switched on at the wall, but unplugged from the source. The intention is there, the circuit isn't. So the real work isn't trying to make life happen. The real work is plugging back in, and that's the hardest part. Because plugging in means slowing down, feeling more. Letting go of the illusion that speed equals power, that urgency equals alignment. It means recognizing that your worth is not tied to output, that your magnetism is not built in the pushing, it's built in the pause. But how often do we avoid that pause? How often do we resist the very stillness that would tune our frequency? We fill the silence with strategy. We layer intention over insecurity. We sprint through the void because we're afraid of what we might find there. But the void is not empty. It's where coherence begins. It's where the quantum reorganizes itself. Not in the noise, in the stillness beneath it. And so we return, again, not as punishment, as practice, returning to the breath that doesn't demand proof, returning to the moment that doesn't require explanation, returning to the version of us that exists without condition, the version who isn't trying to get there, because they already are. That version lives in the now. That version breathes with trust, not tension. That version doesn't ask the universe to hurry, because they know they are the signal. And signals don't chase, they radiate. When you stop trying to impress the field, it starts responding. When you stop performing your worth, it starts reflecting it. Because now your frequency is clean, not perfect, not manicured, but true. And truth is what magnetizes. It's not about thinking positively. It's about resonating authentically. It's about becoming a match for the life that's already orbiting you, just waiting for you to fully land. So here's what I want to ask you. Where are you still half present? Where are you still watching your life instead of living it? Where are you still waiting for confirmation before you let yourself feel safe? Because those are the places where the field feels distant. Not because it's not listening, but because you've left the station. You've abandoned the now for the illusion of someday. But the only place the shift can happen is here. Not later, not after. Now, right now is where your future takes shape. Right now is where coherence becomes command. Right now is the only frequency the quantum responds to. So come back, not as a technique. Come back as a remembrance, because presence isn't something you force. It's something you remember how to be. And in that remembering, everything responds. So many of us are walking through life like echoes, present in outline, absent in essence. We speak the language of trust while living in the frequency of waiting. And waiting, not in the sacred sense, but in the nervous, gripping kind, sends a signal that says, I am not yet. A signal that vibrates with lack, no matter how beautiful the desire. But the quantum field doesn't respond to the beauty of the desire. It responds to the beingness of it, the embodiment, the totality of who you are when you stop bracing and start inhabiting. Not just the parts that feel ready, but the parts that still ache, the parts that want to rush, to grasp, to fix. Because here's the hidden truth. Everything you want already exists in the now, but only the version of you that is fully here can perceive it, can hold it, can become it. When you're split between timelines, measuring how long it's taking, wondering what went wrong, watching others receive, you fracture your own field. You make yourself invisible to the life that's trying to meet you. Presence is visibility. Presence says to the quantum, I am here, I am whole, I am coherent, and the field mirrors back coherence. Wholeness, arrival. It does not mirror urgency. It does not echo your grip, because urgency is the energy of absence. It says, what I need isn't here yet. It disconnects you from your power and turns you into a beggar in your own kingdom. But presence, true presence, is royalty. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it remembers, it reclaims. So if your reality feels distant, if the signs have gone quiet, if the synchronicities have slowed, check your signal, check your body. Are you actually here? Are you breathing into now or just passing through it on your way to something else? Because the future you're chasing is coded in this moment. The person you think you need to become to receive, they already exist inside the version of you who stops leaving, who roots so deeply in now that the field has no choice but to shift around them. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, the now can be raw, unfinished, ordinary. But ordinary is not the absence of magic. It's the cradle of it, the seedbed, the frequency field where all timelines begin to coalesce. When you sanctify this moment, when you make the mundane sacred by your full attention, the quantum ripples, the hologram starts bending, and suddenly the things you were chasing show up unannounced, not as rewards but as reflections. You were never waiting on them. They were waiting on you, waiting for your breath to deepen, waiting for your body to open, waiting for your frequency to stabilize, waiting for you to finally believe, not in your manifestation but in your now, because the field doesn't care what you say you want. It cares how fully you're willing to be. And being, real, rooted, regulated being, is the most magnetic state you'll ever enter. Not because it guarantees anything, but because it collapses the illusion that anything is missing. And that collapse is creation. What if I told you, the moment you stop needing reality to prove itself is the moment it finally does, not because it's testing you, but because it's attuned to you, always. The field doesn't grant desires like a vending machine. It calibrates to consciousness. And consciousness, when fractured, can't create anything stable. But when unified, when fully embodied, when pulsing in presence, It moves mountains without lifting a finger, because in that moment, you're no longer requesting reality. You are reality, a living portal, a frequency so precise, so whole that timelines bend to meet you, but you can't access that power from your mind. The mind is a projector, the body is the receiver, and only when you drop into the body, into sensation, breath, grounded awareness, can you receive clearly, cleanly, coherently. So if you're still asking, why isn't it happening? Ask instead, where am I not yet here? Where is my energy still tied to outcome? Where is my attention orbiting a future instead of sourcing from now? Because manifestation isn't the universe giving you something new. It's the universe showing you what you finally become available to. And availability is vibrational. It's the openness of your heart, the relaxation of your jaw, the steadiness of your breath when nothing external validates you. That's the signal. That's the invitation. That's when the field says, yes, I feel you. I see you. Let's dance. But presence isn't just an energetic checkbox. It's a relationship, a romance with the moment, the kind where nothing is rushed, where the unfolding matters more than the arrival, where you realize, if I'm fully here, I'm already home. That's the energy the field responds to. Not begging, not bargaining, not performance, just truth, just coherence, just being. So here's the medicine, the mirror, the remembering. You don't manifest by reaching, you manifest by returning. Returning to the version of you who trusts without proof, returning to the body that holds the signal, returning to the breath that resets the broadcast, returning to this moment, fully, reverently, completely, and in that return, the field rushes forward, not to rescue you, but to recognize you, to meet the you who finally stopped looking outward, the you who realized everything you seek is encoded in now, and when you're finally here, everything else is too.